Hi, everyone. Crista Cowan here with another episode of the Barefoot Genealogist. This is what's new at Ancestry for July 2022. If you've never joined us for a What's New episode, we are going to quickly cover some upcoming genealogical conferences and events that you might want to start planning for. We're going to talk about some new content, like historical records that have been uploaded to the site, what some of my favorites are, where you can find them. And then we're going to take a look at some of the changes that have been made to the Ancestry website, or some of the changes that are coming soon that you might want to keep an eye out for. So that's what we're going to do in our 20 or 30 minutes together here. We do have a lot to cover. If you're only interested in one of those things, if you just look at the description for this video, you will see links with like chapters for the video where you can jump directly to those. So with that introduction, let's go ahead and dive in. We are going to start with some of the upcoming genealogical conferences that might be of interest to you. First up is the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies. They are holding their annual conference from August 21st to August 25th this year, so in just about 5 or 6 weeks. And it is going to be a fully virtual conference, and there's all different packages available. So if you only want to watch a few classes, you're going to pay less than if you want to watch the full conference and participate that way. So lots of different options there. You can go to IAJGS2022.org. You can see the link there on your screen. I will also be sure to put it in the description for this video. So that is the Jewish conference. If you have Jewish ancestry, whether you know that or recently discovered it through a DNA test, you might find some interesting learning opportunities through this particular conference. The world's largest family history conference is coming back in 2023. I think this will be year 12 maybe for this conference. That is RootsTech. It has traditionally been held in Salt Lake City. The last 2 years, of course, it has been fully virtual, but they recently announced that for 2023, the 2nd through the 4th of March, it will be in person again here in Salt Lake City. So if you want to save the date for that, great. If you can come in person, fantastic. I will be there. I would love to meet you. But if you want to watch it virtual, they will still have a virtual component to that conference as well. So save the date on your calendar. You can go to rootstech.org to learn more. Those are just a couple of the conferences. There are always genealogical conferences and events going on locally in states and various locations, not just around the United States, but around the world. My favorite website to keep up with what's going on in the world of genealogical educational opportunities is Conference Keeper. So if you just do an internet search for Genealogy Conference Keeper, you should find that. Next up, we're going to talk about the new and updated historical record collections on Ancestry. So Ancestry adds new records continually. The new records go into, we have new databases that are put online, but then we also have existing databases that get updated. So this past month, so just in the month of June, more than 28 million records were added to the site. Now, if you want to keep up with what records are being added to the site on a regular basis, you can do that by clicking on Search on Ancestry and then going down almost to the bottom of that menu where you'll see the card catalog. The default sort for that card catalog is by date added. So what you'll see there is all of the new databases with the newest ones at the top of the list. You can change the sort feature there to date updated, and then that will leaf in those updated record collections as well. So let's take a look at some of those new and updated record collections. In June, Ancestry added another 15 million French birth, marriage, and death records. Now, these French records are being added by region or location, so it's not a single database that's being updated with the records for the entire country. It is going to be a little bit more regional. So if you know where in France your family came from, you already have a head start on searching those records because you can go directly to that database to search it. Of course, you can still use the search all records on Ancestry if you aren't exactly sure where in France they're from, but location is really important when doing family history research. So the more precise of a location you can get earlier in the research process, then when you get to those search results, you're more likely to be able to select the right person rather than just someone with the same name and some of the same birth information. We always want to make sure we're climbing our own family tree, not someone else's. Otherwise, why are we doing this? And so we want to make sure we're identifying the right people so that we can continue to grow that family tree, learn more about our own ancestors. And so whether you're doing research in Germany or France or Ireland, those are some of the, off the top of my head, Italy, places where records were held regionally or locally. And so knowing where they were from is often going to help you be more successful. So particularly if you're a US researcher researching your family tree back to the old country, exhaust all of your US research resources first to learn as much about them as possible and hopefully a specific location to search in the old country before you dive into some of these records. But the records are fantastic. And again, you can search them globally. And that works really well if someone has a unique name. Now, Ancestry also added nearly 6 million Church of England records. You'll notice BMD records, birth, marriage, and death, are what we call vital records. They're also called civil registration or civil records. That's when the government is keeping track of birth, marriage, and death. BMB records are baptisms, marriages, and burials. So those are typically records kept by the church, and they usually predate civil registration. So governments in most places, like England, for example, didn't start keeping track of records until later. And so in England, they started in 1837. These BMB records from the Church of England date back to the mid-1500s. And so they're going to predate, sometimes with a little bit of overlap with the government registration. So if you have family from England, I believe these records are from Worcestershire. Hope I said that right. You can check those out. Now, here in the United States, of course, the 1950 census continues to be updated. So I don't want to get into too much detail because I spent about 20 minutes on Tuesday on the Ancestry Facebook page explaining exactly how these records have been indexed, exactly what's available, and where we are in the process. So you can go watch that video and give us a follow while you're there on the Ancestry Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/AncestryUS. That'll get you to the US Facebook page for Ancestry. And every other Tuesday, I am there doing a Facebook Live. So these videos are pre-recorded, but on Facebook, I'm live. So not only do I get to do a quick lesson or informational update, but also I get to take live questions from people in the comments. And I really enjoy that. So if you haven't followed us over there, please do so. And then you'll be notified when I go live every other Tuesday. But that's also where you're going to find the update for the 1950 census. The highlight is this. The census is fully searchable on Ancestry and has been for quite a while now. However, family search volunteers have been reviewing the Ancestry computer-generated index. They have 100% completed the name review, and they are now in the process of finishing up the household review. So the states in green on the map on your screen are the states that have been completed through both name review and household review at Family Search. And those completed versions of those states' indexes are available in that 1950 census database on Ancestry. The states in gray, we just have the early version of the index. So they're there, all the images are there, they're searchable, but there might be some errors that the computer didn't read the record exactly correct. And so those corrections will be added as Family Search completes the household review for those states. We'll keep you posted. Next up, let's talk a little bit about some of the updated record collections on Ancestry. So Ancestry has existing record collections, 30 billion records on our site that we've been adding since the late 1990s. And some of these collections, like naturalization records that we obtained from the National Archives, those have been available online for a decade or more, probably more. And the probate records, we got those images in a partnership with Family Search, and those have been available online for about 7 or 8 years now. Originally, when those records were indexed to make them searchable for you, we just indexed the primary person, the person who was being naturalized, the person whose will was in the probate file, so the deceased, the person whose estate was being probated. Now, Ancestry is making an investment to go back into those records that have already been online for a while and re-indexing them to index additional names. So for example, on a naturalization record, one of the things that you're going to see is not just the name of the person being naturalized, but very often their spouse and children as well. Prior to 1922 here in the United States, women and underage children derived their citizenship from their husband and father. And so the man was naturalized, and he would provide the names of his wife and children, who then would obtain citizenship based on his naturalization status. So Ancestry is going back and indexing those additional family members on those naturalization records. So that means if great-grandma, if you've been searching for her naturalization, you couldn't find it, now you can search for her by name. And if she was naturalized through her husband, that will show up. So hopefully that's as exciting to you as it is to me. I'm thrilled to dive back into these records. A whole bunch of them just went online over the last few weeks for several states. This is a project still in process. So Ancestry is updating these naturalization databases state by state as we go through them. Same thing with the probate records, though. We're coming to we're starting the naturalization reindexing. We're coming to the end of the probates reindexing. So on probate records, you've got the person who died or who wrote the will, and then you've also got the members of their household. So a spouse, the children or grandchildren who might have inherited from them. And then really important to our Black American friends who are descendants of those who were enslaved. You're going to see oftentimes in those wills or in the inventories of that probate lists of the enslaved persons as well. And so Ancestry is going through and trying to capture all of those names as well in the indexing process so that they are fully searchable. So we just published several more states of those probate records updated. I think we're down to just the last 3 or 4 states. So be sure to check that out in the card catalog as well. Now, a collection that came out not in June, but in late May, I just wanted to bring to your attention because there's a really cool story behind it. So the Virginia birth registers, the images of this record collection have been online at Family Search for years, but they weren't indexed. So they weren't searchable. You had to go in like a reel of microfilm, which is where they started. You had to go in and go image by image by image through these registers to find the people that you were looking for. So Ancestry has indexed these Virginia birth registers. They date back to 1853 and they go through 1911. Now, of course, Virginia was a slave state, and enslaved people were being born in Virginia from 1853 until emancipation. And what that means is that oftentimes you will find enslaved people in these records with their birth registered, and it will also sometimes include the name of the slave owner. Some of you may have seen the film that Ancestry released in June. If you haven't, I would encourage you to go watch it. It's ancestry.com/Black History. And right there at the top of the page, you'll see the film, A Dream Delivered, The Lost Letters of Hawkins Wilson. And you can click play right there on that page to watch this 30-minute documentary film. And basically, the story is that Hawkins Wilson was an enslaved boy who was sold away from his family. His new slave owner then took him to Texas, so left Virginia, went to Texas. And 20 years later, when he is emancipated, and he writes a letter. He writes 2 of them, actually, one to the Freedmen's Bureau with all the details that he remembers about his family, his siblings, his aunt and uncle, his cousin, his siblings' kids, and who their slave owners were. So a lot of really great details that he remembers, which is amazing. And then he includes a second letter written to his oldest sister. And sadly, those letters were never delivered. So Ancestry embarked on a research project that was nearly a year in the making that took a lot of people and was led brilliantly by a researcher here on my team, Lisa Elsie. She just did a brilliant job, and others that helped her with ProGen and people going out and pulling records and going to Virginia and searching online. And the brilliant thing is that when these Virginia records came online, there was part of Hawkins' family listed in those Virginia birth registers with the names of their slave owners. So it was a way to tie this story together in a really beautiful way as we were able to reunite descendants of Hawkins with descendants of his family that got left behind. Go watch it. It's brilliant. Those Virginia records, if they're of interest to you, also available. Now, talking about things you can watch, I'm super excited that after almost 3 years, Who Do You Think You Are is coming back, and it is returning home to NBC. So Who Do You Think You Are? If you've never seen it, each episode is an hour long, and it follows a single celebrity on a family history journey as they learn more about their family and get to, in many cases, walk in their footsteps. NBC announced 3 years ago that they were going to pick this up and bring it back to their network. So it started on NBC for several seasons. Then it was on TLC on cable for, I think, 7 seasons. And so now it's coming back to network television, and it's going to be in prime time on Sunday nights. And they have ordered 6 episodes. Now, we were deep in research and actually filming when the pandemic hit, and so everything got shut down. So you'll notice in the Nick Offerman episode, we were actually in the middle of filming his episode when the world shut down. And so he starts with a beard, and then he has no beard magically in his episode. So I hope you'll check that out. The first episode is this Sunday, so July 10th. It's Billy Porter, and then it goes through with Bradley Whitford and Nick Offerman and Zach Levi and Allison Janney, and then the season ends with Zachary Quinto. So I've already seen sneak peeks of 2 of the episodes and had all the feels and wanted to dive back into my own research because there were some super interesting things that I have already learned, even though I sit next to some of the people who do some of the research and the story production and interface with Who Do You Think You Are? So super excited about this myself. I want to hear from you. Look in the comments. I want you to go down to the comments here on YouTube, and I want you to tell me which episode you are most excited about or most interested in watching. I do want you, of course, to watch them all, because the more people watch, the more chance we have of NBC wanting to make more episodes. But hopefully you'll watch just because you want to, not because I asked you to. So that is upcoming television entertainment. Let's wrap it up by talking about new and updated tools and experiences on the Ancestry website. So the logged in homepage. So globally, no matter where you live in the world, you should now have the updated logged in homepage. Based on the feedback that we're getting, and we're getting some really great feedback from y'all, based on the feedback that we're getting, we're making some changes. So some of you may start to see these changes sooner, some of you may not see them till later, but know that this is a work in process. Progress? Yes. So first of all, at the very top of the page, we've been asked to kind of separate things so that they're clear modules on the page. So we've done that. The second thing is this drop-down box where you can select your tree now clearly delineates your trees from the trees shared with you. Very few, actually very, very few people on Ancestry have more than one tree. But for those of you that do, some of you have dozens of trees. And so you can also just type the tree name and search directly, and then you can go directly to that tree. It will also adjust, so all of the modules on the page, so the recently modified information will show the new tree you select and the last people you worked on in that tree. Your hints module will show the hints for that particular tree. And then we're working on some personalization. So paying attention to how you use the site and what places you go to on the site most and what's most important to you. We will start to adjust those different modules on the homepage based on your activity. So a personalized feed based on how an algorithm sees you're using the site. So that's coming soon. So you may see some things shift on the page over time, but we'll keep that tree data right up there at the top. And of course, that search bar right down that side. Now, some of you have already noticed this change. It just happened this past week. So we used to have a little green dot next to, this is in your header when you're on Ancestry on the far right-hand side by your profile picture and your username. You have your message center, so that's how you get into your Ancestry messages, and you have your all hints page. You can get into it through there. These little dots next to them used to be green, just to let you know if you had messages waiting for you or if you had hints waiting for you. Those were changed to red, simply for the fact of bringing us into some accessibility compliance, and because that's the internet standard for notifications. So like here on YouTube, when you have comments or replies to comments, the notification turns red. On Facebook, if you've got people responding to your post or messages, it turns red, right? So all over my mobile devices, all the notifications are little red bubbles. So that just is a standard across the internet. So we switched to that. And then that was in preparation for this new feature that, again, you won't all have yet, but it is being rolled out, and we're taking feedback, and there may be some slight changes before everybody gets it. But I did want you to know that it was coming at some point, and that is this new notifications icon. So this is a place where we can communicate with you, where we can show you some things that are happening in your tree, if people are saving things. There's a whole lot of possibilities for what we can do with that notifications space. And so we're just rolling out the feature itself. And then as for what gets populated into that space, we'll be testing some things with different users and listening to user feedback as we roll that out. So most of you won't see it yet, but just wanted you to know that it is coming soon. Next up, I just want to talk about the media gallery a little bit, because this is another space on Ancestry where things are changing and new features are being introduced pretty quickly. We have an entire team here at Ancestry who's working on this. So last month I talked about how you get to your media gallery. When you're viewing your tree, there's a new little icon here that you can click on. It's a photo icon that will take you to your tree gallery. And then once you're in your tree gallery, you'll see the rows and rows of images that you've uploaded to your tree. Remember, this is the tree gallery, not the person gallery. One is a subset of the other. So when you're in a person profile page on Ancestry, every person has a gallery, and you can upload photos and stories directly there. You can also toggle to see what documents and other things you've saved to them from Ancestry. But your tree gallery is showing you all of the media, all of the photos and stories and things that you've uploaded to your tree yourself. And in your tree gallery, this is why I like using the tree gallery, we have introduced these new little icons. So there's a little person icon, and what that tells you is you have actually tagged at least one person in this photo. So you'll notice this photo over here doesn't have the little person icon. So even though there's two people in this picture, it means I haven't tagged them to say who's who. It's also possible I may not have even attached it to a person in my tree yet. I may have just uploaded it to my gallery and forgot to actually attach it to a person. So it's a quick way to skim through your gallery and see who you've tagged or how you've attached those photos. I'll talk about tagging in just a minute. Hang on. Then there's this little magic wand, okay? That icon means that this photo has been colorized. Now, I talk about colorization in last month's video, so if you missed that, you can go back and watch that. Remember, just open up the description and you can jump directly to that chapter of that video. Colorization actually is just a toggle, so it doesn't create a new photo. It doesn't replace the original. The original is actually still behind this. Okay, I've just chosen to display the colorized version. So you can toggle back and forth between them. But if you've applied that colorization, you'll see that little magic wand. So you can see here on this picture of Riley and Nancy, no magic wand. Pretty obvious. I haven't colorized that. So that's a quick way to run through your gallery at the tree level to see if you have photos you still need to attach or tag. Now, once you open up any one of those photos, whether you do it directly from the tree gallery or whether you go into one of those people that it's attached to and open that up, you're going to see some new icons. We had some of this stuff hidden behind this little wrench, but now we've added a little pencil and a little person. Okay, so the little pencil icon is where the colorization has moved to. Now, it's not a magic wand because we're going to be adding some more editable features there coming soon. So in the coming 6, 8, 12 months, maybe a little more, we're going to be adding some additional media features, things that you can do to edit your photos or work with your photos. And they're going to be probably going to end up under this pencil icon. So colorization is not the only thing, it's just the first thing. So that's where you're going to find that. And then you're going to have this little person icon, and that's where you go to tag the image. We introduced image tagging through the Ancestry mobile app first. It is now also available on the desktop. So you can click on each person in the photo, type in their name. Not only does it create a little tag on the image itself, but it also then attaches it to that specific person. So every time you upload an image to your tree, you only want to upload that image once, and then you want to attach it to all the people that it applies to. Otherwise, your media gallery ends up kind of bloated and a little difficult to sort through. So one image, even though there might be 20 people or 2 people in it, and then you just attach it to all the people, and tagging is the fastest way to do that. Okay, let's talk quickly about AncestryDNA before we wrap up. So Ancestry just this past month quietly changed the article in our support center that explains that AncestryDNA is now available in 89 countries around the world. I think previously it was 34 countries. I might be off by a number or two, but we more than doubled the number of countries that AncestryDNA kits can be sold in. So if you have family members who live in far-flung places in the world, you can, maybe Venmo them some money and have them purchase the kit directly so that it will be shipped directly to them. And then when they get the kit, the return mailer that comes in it, that is postage prepaid, will allow them to return it from their country as well. So you don't want to purchase it here in the US and then ship it to them, because then you have to pay for the shipping to them and the shipping back from them. The shipping back and forth direct from Ancestry is part of the cost of the kit. If you want to see the full list, you can just do a quick internet search for what countries AncestryDNA is available to. I will also put a link in the video description so that you can get directly to that list. But it's super interesting and super exciting for those of us who have family members or potential cousins that we want to target test that live in other countries to help us with our family history discoveries. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that. One other quick note, and I didn't make a slide about this, but one other quick note about AncestryDNA. Ancestry for years had the Ancestry mobile app and the AncestryDNA mobile app, and they were 2 separate apps. Over the last 2 years, Ancestry has been quietly moving all of the features from the DNA app over into the Ancestry app, and I can tell you that they are all now in the one Ancestry app. So if you have the old AncestryDNA app, it will no longer be updated with new features, and you can just delete it if you need some space on your mobile device. So all the DNA features are now in the one Ancestry mobile app. Hopefully that is good news for some of you. Well, that is all I have prepared for you today. A quick social wrap up. You can find us on Facebook. I mentioned that. Like I said, every other Tuesday, I am doing a Facebook Live with a Q&A, live Q&A. I'd love to have you join me there. You can also find and follow Ancestry on Instagram, where we share fun stories and love to hear back from you. It's a great way for you to share some of those things. And you can also find and follow us on TikTok. If you share any of your own family history stories on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, whatever social media platform you use, if you use the hashtag #MyAncestryStory, we will see those. We follow that hashtag and we love to hear your stories and may even invite you to share your story to a broader audience. Well, you can also find me on social media on Facebook at the Barefoot Genealogist and on Instagram at Crista Cowan. If you have questions, you can always ask them here in the comments. I do try to check in several times a week and respond to those questions. I also respond to questions on both Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, I'm Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.